And welcome on to Lightshade. As ladies and gentlemen, in the top left, we have your blue Zerg from A Freak of Freaks. It's Armani. And in the bottom right, hailing from our very own Alpha X, your red Protoss. Classic. So, Protoss versus Zerg. I feel like it's a matchup that we've been kind of spoiled with recently. We've gotten a lot of very high-level PvZs in just the past month, I think. We've gotten just some really awesome matchups, just some really awesome ones. We had, of course, their word that just recently happened. The qualifiers for Azus ROG and their tournament that is happening later on this year. And there we had a ton of such good PvPs. I mean, you got matchups like Max Pax versus Serral, Showtime versus Serral, and even things like Showtime versus Lambo. Just, we've been really spoiled with the level of PvZs that we've gotten. And it does make me excited to just cast some more of it, because it's a really fun matchup that's very interactive. It's one that has a very defined meta in the way that you can open. There's still a multitude of builds that Protoss and Zerg can go, but it's been worked out to a point in this matchup that really there's, I mean, I like to say 3 to 4 variations of openers that either race can really open with to try and consistently get damage on their opponent. Of course, if you're looking at Protoss, you have your Stargate openers, and that can be 1 or 2 Stargates. Adept Glaives, Resonating Glaives, has found its way back into the meta, just very slightly. And then I've also seen, of course, some, 3 base +2 Blink Stalker attacks that players like, I think, Neeb have been pulling out on the NA ladder. So, that's kind of the variations that you've gotten it whittled down to for Protoss. You won't see Dark Templar as often as you did 2 or 3 years ago when it, almost every game was Dark Templars into Archon drop, into macroing out of that, charge out Archon Immortal. It's very much changed from then, and we even see Classic already putting down the Stargate, so it's a very standard opening from him. And even on the side of Armani, you had the expansion down to 3rd base. I don't believe it was actually forced by a pro, but Armani just sent his expansion down there to be safe. And it's not something that hurts the Zerg terribly bad. It's just going to delay their mining the slightest of a bits. It's really why the Protoss does that natural base block when they do is just to try and slow down the Zerg. It's Classic. Unable to snipe the drone, but we do have the Oracle on the way. We'll see how that does across the map, damage-wise. Armani already very well prepared, has the Spore Crawlers in place. Those go down right around, the 3-minute mark for just to be safe, as well as the proper amount of queens. And gotta feel like this game already kind of propelling itself into the mid-game pretty effortlessly. There's not a lot of early skirmishing. Neither of these players seemingly very intent on being aggressive in any way. As we'll see if this Oracle can get any damage done. There's already a Spore Crawler and a Queen in the main, but the positioning not the best, and Classic just manages to snipe 1 probe before having to hop on back. Oh, the Queen trap. Oh, Classic with a little bit of miss micro. Oh. Gets out. Perfectly safe. Never broke a sweat. Oh, alright. I was gonna say, this game was looking like it was gonna propel itself straight into the mid-game, but Classic says, no, actually. I want to go into the late game. 2nd Stargate goes down. Fleet Beacon is on the way with the Void Ray to help push back any attacks from the Zerg. Yeah, this is Classic. I mean, this might even be, I think this is gonna be essentially 2-base carrier is what this is, and this is a build that Zest was doing actually for a little bit. No, it's Tempests. Oh, Oh, classic. Oh, you are glorious. You even have the Tempest ground damage upgrade on the way. This is interesting. I don't think I've seen this build on Lightshade, at least. I have seen, you know, you've seen players like MaxPax do 2-base Tempest on a map like 2000 Atmospheres, where there's a lot of dead airspace. But on Lightshade, I mean, I'm very interested to see how this will work out. I haven't seen anything like this before, and I don't think Armani even suspects anything. In fact, if you're looking at Armani's vision, it is pretty much nothing. He has no idea. He knows that there was, of course, a Stargate opening, but that is all, and it's roaches. There's a Spire finally going down, and this is a full committal to the Tempest. This is super cool. And there's the Forge on the way as the follow-up. Oh, the Zergling! I think it saw. I didn't catch the vision in time, but I think that Zergling did, in fact, manage to see the Tempests. You're going to look at that Queen positioning to see really what Armani's preparing for. Maybe it didn't. It might have just been hidden, but there's a Zergling finally seeing it. 12 roaches on the way, but the Spire isn't done. So there's going to be no Corruptors. It's just Queens. Let's see what Classic can do. Already so much damage, and this isn't even with the upgrade done yet. In fact, that's finishing up just 5 seconds or so now with the Tectonic Destabilizers. 4 Tempests! Oh, I love this. Queen's already going to start going down. And Corruptors can't even start to be produced until that Spire is done. Instead, Armani, he's preparing to go across the map. Has Roaches and Lings ready for a counterattack. There are going to be Void Rays on the way, though, but they're headed across the map. Oh, this is going to get messy really quickly. Armani, he's going to try and get the counterattack damage, but he's going to lose all of his Queens there at the third base. Gets a Void Ray for his trouble, but he should be able to kill the third in return. Classic, he has to pull everything back and does not have enough at home. Finally, Corruptors are on the way. It's not enough, though. It's only 6 Corruptors. Armani, he's just going to try and break the front. He's just going to try and kill Classic before the damage ramps up too much, but that's the third base sniped on the side of the Zerg. Armani's still committing in. The force fields are late. And it's just 2 Void Rays right now trying to defend. Another one in the production tab. And back at home, here we go. Immediately the recall comes out, and that's very well done by Classic. He just needs to make sure that he keeps everything alive. He's losing so many probes. 17 already going down. It looks like Classic is going to clean it up. Loses 22 probes. Loses the third base as well, but I mean, pushes Armani back onto 3 bases as well. Actually, even 2 bases. Yeah, snipe the natural. Gets out, gets everything away. Classic now has just a massive ball of Void Rays and Tempests. And what does Armani have to deal with this? I mean, the nice thing here for Armani is he has Corruptors that are already on the way, and then he's been continuing to produce, but he lost all of his Queens. He's lost 2 hatches and is trying to rebuild them now. And Classic's army is just so much stronger. I mean, just so much stronger. There's not really going to be a point that Armani can fight it. Even with the amount of Corruptors he has, 15, you know, you've got 7 Void Rays. And that's a decent enough count to really do some damage. This Salamamba is getting quite a bit of damage on its own. Just Armani not having enough ground units. I mean, there's a lot of drones going down that you can't really afford, especially when you're trying to rebuild. 11 drones. And Armani tries to come in there with the Corruptors, but is unable to find really any picks. It's a little bit of damage onto 1 of the Void Rays. And now we have +2 ground weapons already. Oh, I was going to say already finishing up, but Classic cancels that. I have to imagine that was a mistake. Unless he needed the money for his High Templar, but yeah, I don't see that as anything else than a mistake. That +2 would be so important for this army, especially with Archons. As here we go, it's the Corruptors. They're going to try and commit in, but you really can't. Void Rays do so much DPS. And it is Roaches and Corruptors. It's really not an ideal army for dealing with what Classic has. I don't know if Armani has enough to hold this. Spore Crawlers are being placed down, but again, Tempest, they just outrange them, and now it's Charge Lots and Archons. Void Rays and Tempests. Such a strange unit composition, but it might just work as... Oh, the Corruptors, they're coming to the third base. Armani, once again, just saying, listen, I'm not going to fight you. I'm just going to try and get damage done on the other side, and that's the Nexus down. But does it matter? Because can Armani survive at home? And we'll see. I don't think the answer is yes. The Roaches are going to be able to kill off a lot of these Charge Lots, but you see Armani, he has to run away. He can't fight this. The Classic is just going to chase it down. And just to kill some of the Roaches, but 6 more Corruptors on the way. And it might give Armani enough, enough power in this army to try and defend, as Corruptors immediately looking for the snipes. Isn't even able to one-shot a Void Ray until just now as more pop out. And here we go, the Archons beneath are trying to soak up as much damage as possible. Splash is good as the Tempests have to focus fire. Oh, Armani, he's engaging straight into the prismatic alignment. But does it matter? Is there too many Corruptors? Armani, he might just be able to turn the tide of this, but I think the prismatic alignment was just enough to push back the Corruptors. Classic is going to just recall everything away. He gets 23 drones with these Charge Lots, with the Archons. And Armani's down to 37 workers. Man, this is such a interesting game here from Classic, as the Corruptors looking to commit back in, but they're focusing down Void Race and doesn't even get one. Prismatic alignment, again, it's just... It really felt like Armani had enough to fight Armani's army. But he was forced to because he couldn't let the hatchery die and it was getting focused down, so he had to fight into the prismatic alignment. Now Classic is comfortably on 3 bases versus, the 2.5 of his opponent. And yeah, these Roaches, they just get run down. The Charge Lots doing so much damage, even with just +1. There's the GG. Classic, a sick game, takes game number 1. Now, of course, this is a best of 5, so Armani has a bit of time to kind of digest that first game there, but still, such a cool opening from Classic. I love it. I really love it. And it's always great to see Protosses mixing it up and, doing new builds, especially. Usually when it comes to innovative builds, you have kind of 2 Protoss that do it a lot. And that's, you have SOS with his really weird shenanigans. And then you have Zest. And those are the 2 Protosses that I think usually, really create what become meta build orders. And more so Zest, I think, than even SOS. But it's really awesome to see Classic kind of take this idea that we saw Max Packs use on, 2000 Atmospheres with the opening with the Tempests early to try and snipe away hatcheries and queens, and instead saying, actually, you can just use that as a standard opening to try and get damage done with that Tectonic destabilizers. So turns that 2 Stargate opening, Dot Carriers goes for the Tempests, and gets so much damage done with it, defends back at home. It was beautifully played. And Armani just almost managed to hold on, but unfortunately had taken too much damage, didn't have enough left over. Means that he does end up dropping that first game. And we'll see how Classic proceeds into game number 2 here. Because it really is wide open. There's a lot when it comes to professional matchups, especially in best of 5s, when it comes to how you do your build orders, how you order the builds that you go for. Because sometimes, in a series, a player might just say, all right, I'm going to do the same opening every time, but slight variations out of it. And that's kind of what we're seeing here from Classic, as once again, it is the Stargate first. And I wouldn't be surprised if it is the Oracle into Void Ray once again. But you also have players who will say, all right, I kind of went for a bit of a cheeky build, where maybe perhaps I'm just trying to get early damage to propel this game into my lead, and then in the next game I go into a macro game. There's a lot of mind games that can go into it with how you structure your series. And since Classic won that game 1, it's kind of on him to really make those choices. Armani, you know, tried to play as straight up of a macro game as you can, and he was the one that ended up losing. So he's kind of, once again, opening 3 hatch, setting himself, sitting back and saying, all right, let's see what you're gonna do, Classic. I'm gonna see if this time I can defend it well enough and get the win. And we do see the Oracle already on the way. And the Void Ray follow-up. So the same opening from Classic as it was in game 1. But I really do doubt that we'll see the double Stargate on Romanticide. It's not even the worst map for it. You've seen players like Zest actually really like the double Stargate on Romanticide because it's so easy to hold the first 3 bases. But, as I said, Classic switching it up, has the Void Ray on the way, is pushing away the Overlord, and this is exactly what he did in the last game. And so he's kind of planting that idea into Armani's head. Is it the same build? Is he just going with the same thing? And of course we know, as the Observer, the answer is no. That's 3 Gateways and the Twilight Council. So it's going to be a lot more pressure coming out from Classic early on, and it is quite a few Adepts that are on the way, and there's Resonating Glaives. Oh, I'm really liking how Classic is doing this. Now the Oracle did go in, got a worker kill, and then had to get out. That's the same as last game. But we'll see how Armani does against the Glaive Adepts and if he is ready for it. We do have a Roach Warren already on the way. The Adepts shading on in. Gonna let it finish into the natural, and there's nothing really here to defend. Armani just might take a ton of damage. Yeah, I don't see how you don't take so many losses. It's already 7 drones go down. Couldn't snipe the 8th. But here we go, straight into the main. And Zerglings are finally now just popping, but Classic with some focus fire. Just to get 1 drone. Can't really get any more. Finds 8 worker kills, commits 4 Adepts, and this is another move that, you know, Armani defends it. Doesn't defend it the best though, loses quite a bit, and now there's another wave. This is going to be a second wave of Adepts. They're gonna have Glaives. They're gonna have Glaives. They're just gonna do so much more damage. And Armani, he sees just the tip of the spear there with that Zergling, and it all depends on if he's paying attention. He's not ready. I mean, there's a lot of roaches on the way, but he's not prepared to defend against this. He's gonna lose a lot, and here we go, Glaive to Depths. I don't know if Armani was expecting it. He's immediately, a Queen gets focused down, and then straight into the natural TG. Armani was not ready. Knew that there was no way to fight back. Stargate opening once again. As I said, Classic, not a player to shy away from just doing the same build a few times in a row, and especially when it's an opening that you can mix up or you can put some variation onto the follow-up with. It's absolutely fine to do in a series that you're confident in, especially. So we're gonna see the Oracle into the Void Ray, and then it's a question of, is it going to be into more Stargates? Is it going to be into, you know, more macro-based ground play, or once again a bit of an aggressive attack? I would not be surprised to see the double Stargate. I feel like, especially on Jagannatha, it has been favored recently. A lot of players, a lot of Protoss, especially in this matchup, have been liking getting out the early 2 Stargates, early 3rd base, into your 4th, and then 3 Stargate fleet beacon to get into those carriers. I feel like that has been a strategy that a lot of players have been liking, and we'll see what Classic decides to do. Already has the 2nd gateway being placed down, of course, to complete off that wall. And we'll see if he's Armani. You see him on the minimap. Is going to be poking around with some Lings at the front as this Oracle finds its way in, but Armani's so ready for this, actually. There is absolutely nothing happening there. Yeah, sorry, I had it on the wrong speed. I don't know how that happened. Already, this replay is going great, guys. I didn't even notice because I was so distracted by the things, but yeah. There we go. We're on faster now. Sorry about that. But yeah, there we go. Already, 2nd Stargate going down, and have the fleet beacon being produced. So it is going to be what looks like actually probably the same build that Classic did in game number 1, as there's no third base going down until after the fleet beacon, which does usually indicate that you're going into, again, one of those just a bit more aggressive builds. It's legs trying to break through, but there we go. Not much damage done for Armani Classic. Into the tectonic destabilizers and the Tempests. We'll see how Armani decides to answer it the second time. Because first game he did, you know, go for the Roach Ling counterattack. But this time has a bit of premonitions on this. Has seen the first Stargate at the very least, knows that it's the same opener, and has seen the timing on that third base. The lack, especially of ground units, is especially big here. And yeah, look at that, Ravager's on the way. It is going to be the Queen Walk. Let's see if Classic can hold this. Now, the nice thing about the Tempest build is it is a bit better for defending than your Void Rays would be, but not if your Tempests get caught out. Already, one losing a bit of the hull, or the hull plates. But you can see just the Tempest can, from range, start to pick away at these Queens, and Armani can't really do much about it. Yeah, the Tempest just chugging away, managing to get a lot of shots fired, but here comes the commit to the front. There's, oh, a great force field just in time from Classic. But the Queens are now pushing in the front. It's 4 Tempests that are available. Tectonic Destabilizers is not up yet. Shield batteries are just finishing up, but it's Zerglings that are going to be able to get on top of them. I don't know if Classic can hold this. The Queens are starting to die, though. The Tempest from range getting so much damage, and now they do even more. I think Classic can hold this, and if he does, that might just be game, but Zerglings streaming into the main. Armani trying to see how much damage he can get done, and it might just be enough. 9 probes going down. It's a decent amount, but it's not as much damage as you need. Finally, we see more coming through. 13, 14 probes falling, but the Queens have been cleaned up. The Ravagers have to run. And Armani, he's still committing. He manages to break through the front. More probes are gonna fall, and now this might be starting to get to be enough damage. As 21 probes are going down, even more are gonna be committed onto here in the natural. Armani gets some great damage done, clears out the third base, even has Ling still here at the third. He's gonna try and knock down the Nexus. And mind you, Armani, there is no base behind this. There is no fourth. This is full committal to the aggression. 34 probes go down. I think this is up damage. No. Really?